Joining us now is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon now. He's also a member of the Committee on the Armed Services. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on, and we do appreciate that. If I could just get your overall thoughts here. This White House, the stance with Russia, Biden, Putin, what do you expect from this call? What would you like to see?
Well, obviously, John and Emma, thanks for having me on. I'd like to see, as you said, a de-escalation of the fever pitch that's really been happening along the Ukrainian border. We've seen news reports, of course, of Russia massing almost 200,000 troops. And in 2014, they did violate Ukrainian sovereignty by essentially stealing the Crimean Peninsula. So Putin has a track record of doing this, and he wants to, unfortunately, it looks like he wants to expand the quote-unquote Russian empire and get it back to more of a Soviet sphere of influence, and particularly picking on the Ukraine. And he's acting like a bully and very aggressive. And I hope and pray that Joe Biden remains firm. And it's in the best interest, not only of the United States and the European Union, but the world, for Russia to stand down and let Ukraine choose its own course.
And, Congressman, the bigger picture here and how this could potentially affect America and many others is NATO and the agreement with NATO. If Russia does decide to invade Ukraine, would the U.S. and NATO allies be forced to jump into something they may not want to be in?
Yeah, certainly we don't even want a resumption of the Cold War. We certainly don't want a hot war. But NATO works, and NATO works for a reason, because an attack on one is an attack on all. And you look at small Baltic states like Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania that were gobbled up by the Soviets once before, right during really the Second World War. And they are now NATO allies. So and American people really need to understand that if they're attacked, it's like the Russians attacking the American homeland. So that, I'm sure, gives Vladimir Putin pause. But the Ukraine is not a part of NATO. Right. But I think it may spurn an expansion of NATO. And it really, what does it look like a post-invasion? If the Ukrainians make the Russians pay, it could be an absolute disaster. I mean, this is something, when you invade a country and you choose a hot war, you're risking your regime. We've seen it in Argentina when they attacked the Falkland Islands. That regime fell after they were defeated. So Putin's rolling some major dice here, and let's hope he puts them away and puts them back in the drawer. I don't want him rolling.
We'll pay attention to that. Any news coming out of that call, we'll bring it to you live here on National Report here on Newsmax. Congressman, I want to switch to another foreign relations topic, if you will, China. According to the Wall Street Journal, and we'll show you this, China is working towards its first military base in the Atlantic. Congressman, are you concerned about this? If you read into this report, this has been going on for quite some time there, the west coast of Africa, potential base for China. How concerning is that report?
It's pretty much, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10. I mean, we just talked about Russia, the Soviet Union. The Soviets never even tried to have a base in the Atlantic. So it's dangerously close to violating the Monroe Doctrine, which has been foreign policy of the United States for over 200 years. And we have to do everything we can. Equatorial Guinea is where the Chinese are aiming for, and it's their Belt and Road Initiative that they're trying to spread their influence everywhere. And we're very concerned with what they may do vis-a-vis Taiwan after the Olympics. And this is just another indication that China is the preeminent threat, not just for the United States, but for the world and for rule of law democracies.
The White House announced a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Olympics. Do you support that?
Yes, absolutely. I think finally, it only took 11 months, but yes, there's something that Joe Biden did that I support.
I want to ask you about this. I'll bring it down to your state now, Texas. The Department of Justice once again coming after your great state, sir, this time over voting rights there and a new voting map, if you will. I want to play this for you. I'll get your reaction. This is the AG, Merrick Garland.
The complaint we filed today alleges that Texas has violated Section 2 by creating redistricting plans that deny or abridge the rights of Latino and black voters to vote on account of their race, color, or membership in a language minority group.
Is this true, and where is he getting this information from?
No, it's completely false. And you know, when Texas, whatever map Texas drew, the Biden Justice Department, they're going to weaponize it and they're going to sue. It's funny how, let's just look at the breakdown. Texas is going to have 38 congressional seats. most likely, the way it's drawn, it'd be a breakdown of 25 Republicans and 13 Democrats. In Illinois, they have 17 seats. The Democrats control that process up there. It's going to be 14 Democrats and only 3 Republican. But the DOJ is not going to sue Illinois. Now, why? Because it favors Democrats. This is completely partisan and nothing more. Let's talk about Hispanics along the southern border in Texas. They're voting in droves for the Republicans. We had a Republican state, or a Democratic state rep, Ryan Guillen, just switched parties. So President Trump in 2020, a border county, Zapata County, he won it. It's about 85–90% Hispanic. In Starr County, another border county, very large population, just under 1 million, President Trump nearly won it. So Hispanics aren't voting the way, quote unquote, the liberals want them to anymore. They have their own minds, and they're voting, trending heavily Republican. So this should be thrown out on its face.
Finally, really quick, I just want to know, do you have any comment on Congressman Devin Nunes leaving his office and going to essentially big tech, working for former President Trump to run his social media platform, to be the CEO? Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, Devin Nunes is a great American, highly talented, so I think President Trump picked somebody that was wonderful. Of course, Congress's loss is President Trump's gain. He does like one of your former guests just said, he did a fantastic job on Intel. Really, anything he touches, he's a standard of excellence. We're going to miss him terribly, but I think he's going to do a great service to free speech in this country by working for the President Trump's organization.
All right, it's Congressman Pat Fallon of Texas taking his time with us this morning. We always appreciate that. Congressman, thank you.
Thank you all. God bless.